Hello, lovely Floss Tube watchers. It's Ali from Ali's Stitching Studio. Just here for a monthly update and to say hello and show you some of my crafty goodness. I am currently in isolation because I tested positive to COVID. My lovely husband shared it with me. And it came on the back of me having just come out of isolation because I was close contact. I went on a softball tournament. And my roommate, halfway through the tournament, tested positive. So then I had to go into isolation for a week. I tested negative twice. I was out for a week and had to go back in. So I do feel 2022 has gotten off to a little bit of a rotten start. And I'm very thankful that I have my craft and cross stitch and Instagram to look at and my books to read and all the good things at home here. Keeping busy and doing things and doing lots of things in this room because it is the only place in this house that's air conditioned, and man, is it hot. It's really hot this year. It's very muggy. I'm not working at the moment, obviously. Delayed start to the year with that because they've delayed school going back in Queensland to deal with the COVID outbreak. So I'm not working until Monday when I leave isolation. I leave isolation on Thursday night. So that's a little bit of a private update, but that's why you've seen me stitching literally like it's my last days on earth. I have just tried to keep busy and getting stuff done. I had my first complete month in wipgo. I haven't done that before. Those of you who saw my last video would have seen me showing all of the wipgo projects. I had 25 put aside, and somehow I forgot to show you the big kahuna. I had it over there because you've seen me working on it on Instagram. It's such a big, there's a lot of it to go with this whip that I had it aside and I just didn't pull it into the video to show you, and I didn't realise until after I'd finished filming that I'd forgotten. But anyway, that is Teresa Wenslow's Peacock. This is a piece that I started, I suppose it's a couple of months ago now, and I did get quite a lot done on it. I was monogamous on it. I really, really loved it. I really got quite obsessed, and I think it was because I was stitching it and it wasn't as scary as once I got into it than I thought it was going to be. So I was just sort of making do with that momentum and just kept going with it. So this is where I got up to on that project before I sort of stopped everything to do wipgo. So you can see I got quite a lot done. Teresa Wenslow charts, this is the first one of hers that I've done, and I just love it. I love the borders. That little square's there all done. That one I've got to, this was a kit that kindly Sarah from Stitching Mummy sent me, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Sarah. And here we are. Quite a lot of the tail, the body of the bird. So I have this on my wipgo board, so at some point this year this will come out again and I'll have a really good go on it again. I'm loving this wipgo. So I'll show you what I've been up to and how successful it has been for me. I've been really, really happy. I've just stayed on that, and I had 2 finishes in the first month of January. I did anticipate one of them being finished because I was quite close on it, and I have actually framed it as well, but people, it's a pretty dodgy framing job. So I was watching Olivia B yesterday, her latest video, and she's a clever chickie, and she was talking about her framing process and her thought processes when she was rushing through, and she completely nailed how I feel about when I'm framing. Like, I want to do it, I want to save the money and do it, but I am just like whiz bang, just want to get it over and done with quickly, want the end product. I don't take my time, and therefore my framing, when I do it myself, I'm probably the only person in the house that notices it, and you fellow cross stitchers, if you ever came to visit, you'd go, no one else cares. No one else genuinely, legitimately in my house would notice. I could hang things. I could probably do a little bit of a social experiment. Hang all my cross stitches upside down and see if anyone notices on this property. My guess is they won't. We should all do that. See if our family are paying attention. I wouldn't put money on it because I would lose it. I know they're not. So anyway, I had a finish on the first project that I picked up for wipgo, which was, what is her name? Nancy Myers, maybe? Nancy Myers. It's the Americana series. I've put the chart away because I've got to send it to Pammy. Willow Hill Farm. We should remember these things because how many times when you're working on a project do you type that name into Instagram? It's amazing, isn't it? Memory retention. We should all just have that stuff stapled to our frontal cortex. So here is my finish and my dodgy frame job. It's a really, really, really cute. I think this chart's from the 90s. It was very repetitive, therefore it just went quickly. It's the kind of stitching that you get a run on. There's a little bit of back stitching there around the house. I really didn't have too much to do once I picked that up, and I was confident that I would finish this piece. And that was my thought process when I chose my wipgo pieces, because it's only 25 whips on that board, and I didn't have the center panel as a free chart. I filled up every panel on that, and I did see that some people have put like some of them even have only just 5 projects, and they turn up 3 or 4 times over the year. I could have done that. I didn't. There's so many varieties to wipgo I didn't even think about, but I just did a straight 25 projects. I might stay on some of them longer, but this was definitely easily finished. I only think it took me a week once I got onto it to finish this. So that's a fun chart. It is a series, and the others do all have similar looking grass. They're quite distinctive. This chart I picked up as a freebie on the freebie table at the New Jersey Floss Tube Retreat back in 2018. So I was happy to sort of get that stitched. I'm just next to a window which I've got open, so that's the reflection. I'll try and make sure you can see properly. So that's my finish, my first finish. And then I picked up the second one, and I worked on this thing, people, like a steam train. I loved it. And again, I picked it up, and I don't know why I put it aside because it was so enjoyable. It went so quickly. It's all white stitching, and I really, really love stitching with white. I like how plump and neat the stitches are. Stitching with white is fun to me. It's on a navy background, so it really had that stark contrast, so you can really see your neat stitching versus the dark background. It was really quite engaging, and it's a unique chart, so I do try to stitch stuff. I mean, I do stitch some things that other people have stitched, but I can't stand, I've got the opposite of FOMO. I don't have fear of missing out. What I've got the fear of is being bored to death with seeing everyone stitch the same thing. Like, it's literally kills me. So I generally don't join in things. I don't stitch something that everyone else is stitching because my brain turns off then. And I might actually even see a chart when it first comes out and goes, oh, I don't mind seeing that. And then if it becomes really popular, I won't buy it because I know within myself I will not finish stitching that chart because I've seen it too much. It's not intriguing. The image isn't intriguing to me. It's not interesting. I've been over saturated with that image. So that's just me. I know a lot of people operate in the opposite, but that's my psychology. And the thing I know that about myself, and I always have, it's the same with books and movies. So if everyone is telling me I need to read a book and the hype surrounding that book is so big, or hype surrounding a movie, it's expectations. You're just like, oh, okay, I would have been better off maybe watching or reading that at the beginning and not had everyone tell me how wonderful it was, and then you read it or watch it and you think that was okay, it was fine, but it wasn't as fantastic as everyone told me. So being aware of that does help me choose my stitching projects, and I hope ones and images that I'll be engaged with enough that I stay with them, because you spend so much time looking at the thing that you're stitching on. So I think if it helps to understand your own psychology, it does help you to choose projects that will have longevity and that you'll stay working on. So this was the one that I started that rant. It was a DMC kit that came with a raw coloured linen, and it was really quite cheap and nasty linen. It came with 3865, the white colour. And when I started this years ago in 2015, it says on the chart, my kids were at softball training late in the afternoons, and that's when I was stitching on this, and I made a lot of little errors. Some things were over 1, some things were over 3, because I couldn't see the linen because it was like in dusk. The sun's fading. I'm trying to stitch on this piece in the car, and I'm like, So when I brought this in America, I was just matching up charts and things with my material when I came home. And I thought, oh, that would look quite nice for a restart on this chart. So here it is. I just adore this. It's called ABC. Oh, again, I've put the chart away because I need to send it to a stitcher who loves it. So here we go. I'll take you a little bit closer so you can see the stitching. It's a really, really nice piece. There's little tendrils that are the back stitching around most of the letters. And you can see the lace border, it just continues on. It really was a joy to stitch. So that's that one. That's not a small, that's like I call it a medium chart. Some people might call that large. I'm going to get this professionally framed. I adore it. It looks so good. I mean, it would have looked good on the raw linen, but the raw linen wasn't a nice piece of linen. I could have restarted it on that, but when I saw this blue, I thought, you know what, that's actually what this piece needs for that contrast. Excuse me. I'm just going to get a little drink. I am in full summer mode. I've got my togs on and my sarong. I went swimming at lunchtime. It was just so hot I couldn't stand it. Did a lot of work around the house, and then I jumped in the pool. So yeah, COVID isn't. I've had colds far worse than this, hundreds of times. So this is a very mild dose of it. So for that, I'm grateful, and I'm not diminishing anyone else's COVID, but we're being lucky in this house to have a very mild version of it. So fingers crossed we don't get it again, and we're inoculated to some degree. Okay, so after those 2 finishes, that was exciting, and I'd made this promise to myself, Ali, because when I started in May last year, I started the year of the peacock sale, and I did nothing but work on peacocks, because I've been looking through my things and thought, oh, that peacock, yeah, I always wanted a peacock wall. I always talked about that. Oh, I've got that peacock chart. I ended up with 16 or 17 charts, and I thought, that's ridiculous, Ali. This wall, it's never ever going to happen. It's never ever going to happen unless I actually dedicate and plan and execute working on them. So I decided to do a year of peacock sale, and I started in May, and I went to the end of December, and in that time I had some finishes, and I've showed you all those, and that Teresa Wenzel was a breakthrough from me. I'm so excited to have that and to be having fun with that. So I finished my 2 this month, and because I'd had so many starts towards the end of the back half of last year with peacocks, I have had a lot of starts this last sort of, if we go calendar year. So I don't feel I'm hanging out to have new starts. So I thought, I think I'll really be quite happy because I've got so many cool whips I really want to get on with. But it's just that hesitation what you're going to pull out. So that's why wipgo to me was this really fantastic motivational tool that I thought would work with my psychology and how I work. And yeah, it definitely has. So I had the 2 finishes and I thought, yes, I can have a new start. Now I had 10 out there lined up. I've got a basket with them. But does Ali do that? No. Little rebel. So what happened, I got a order from 1884 Stitchery from McKenna. And in that order was some charts. And I had picked up a Debbie Patrick chart, which, where did I put it? I was very excited to get. And my friend Jay, when I showed it on Instagram, she said, "Oh, is that Beringer Winery? I've been looking for that. That's my unicorn." And I said, "Okay, honey, well, I'm going to start it. And then when I finish it, because it'll be quick, then you can have the chart. You're welcome to it." So here is some of the chart there. I can't show it. That's Beringer Winery by Debbie Patrick. I started that on the 20th of January after I had my second finish for the month. And it's on a piece of 18 or 16 count, 16 count. My daughter's a hairdresser and they've got to wear full black uniforms, and quite often her clothes get bleached out. So quite often I've got a black dye pot in the sink, in the laundry, and she's dyeing her black clothes because you can't buy new black clothes all the time. It costs her a fortune to work there because she specialises in blondes, bleached blondes. She's very good at it. So the kid needs an apron, quite frankly, but that's not cool to wear an apron while you're hairdressing. So we have to bleach her black clothes regularly. So I saw the black tub there and just one day I thought, I wonder, because obviously I don't want to dye any fabric black, but I know if I don't leave it in there long, we'll get a kind of a grey. So I had some white Aida and I just threw it in there and it's come up with this, you can see, that doesn't bother me. We've got like a mottled grey. Anyway, I thought it would be like a bit of an atmospheric piece to put this Beringer Winery on. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this. I really just chewed through this chart. It's so enjoyable. Now I'm not finished, but I have finished all the full crosses and I have started back stitching as I went. I've made a boo-boo up here. I've got to go and pick out that last row. It's off a bit, but I've got to do all the tiles through here and the back half and the bottom half and the tiles on that grey roof. The bottom half of this is brickwork as well. So there's probably, there's no back stitch anywhere else, I don't think. Look at these beautiful little topiary pots, terracotta pots. It's just a beautiful chart. I loved it. It'll really look quite different when all this back stitching's in, and particularly because this is all going to be brickwork. It's going to look amazing. But it's probably another 2 or 3 sessions on here for the back stitching, and I didn't want to, I was aiming for a finish by the end of January, but, 3 sort of good sized finishes in 1 month is, I'll be excused for missing the mark by a couple of days. But I'll get back to this in the coming week. I haven't put it away. I haven't put the threads away. I will come back to it. But I really was gagging to get onto the 2 numbers that were called for wipgo for this month. I wanted to actually show you. So Debbie Patrick, for those of you who don't know, I love her charts. And when I used to film years ago, and before I took all my videos down, I actually had a video of me showing off all my Debbie Patrick charts. And I do always get asked about her, so I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to show you what I've stitched. I didn't get my current whips. I've got 2 of hers that are whips. I did show one in my whip parade last month, Angel of the Sea. I've got 2 that are completed, and I've got 30 something or so in my book here. So I thought I'd show you my Debbie Patrick. We'll have a Debbie Patrick chart parade. So this is one I finished last year. This is Winchester Mystery Mansion. This was just fun. I sent this chart to Pammy. I had started this already when Olivia and Elena filmed their Christmas card here. It was so funny. That just cracked me up. It is a beautiful chart, and you can see these are the kind of houses that I like, and I appreciate on a sampler you can't have detailed houses like this. And some people would like to stitch them, they're too detailed for them. But check out the detail on her work. I framed this myself, as you can probably clearly tell. She's phenomenal. So Victorians across America are what most of her designs are called. And this is the very first one I did years ago, and I sent this chart to Annette, California Stitcher, when I was finished because she loved it. Now, this is called Kimberly Crest. Can we see that? When did I do this? I've written on the back, 2017. So what I've done, because I wanted some place, because obviously I've got 30-something of these charts, and I won't have them all framed and up in the house, but I can't wait to stitch them. Like, I will stitch every single one of these in my lifetime. So I thought, how am I going to store them? So I brought this big A3 display book, and I brought this canvas pad. It's acid free, and it's like it's canvas, right? So I can put it under my sewing machine with the stitched piece on top and just stitch around it, right? So it's securely on there. So you can see I've just sewn straight lines down, and it's just there for now. So I've used the whole bit so it fills up the whole A3. So that I can easily cut that off that canvas, and I can easily frame that, frame it and give it as a present, whatever I want to do. But that's it being kept flat and secure, and I've got it over there in my bookcases. But that's Kimberly Crest. So I just need to decide when I finish that Beringer Winery if I want to hang it up in the house. I think I will put it on here and put it in this book for now until I decide what I want to do. I've got 4 of these frames. They were from my mother's tapestry in the 80s, and this is the first one I've used. So they had Australiana animals in them, so that was the koala bear bag I made that was in this frame. So I might frame Beringer Winery myself and into one of those frames because I've got another 3. I have to think about that. But anyway, so here's an option. It'll end up in this book or it'll be framed and hanging. It doesn't matter when I make that decision, whenever. So for those of you who are interested in Debbie Patrick and who quite frequently ask me and are fans, I thought I would show you again. What I am missing are the 2 that I'm in my whip baskets, which are Angel of the Sea, and I want to say it's called Morton House, and it's in Kansas, I think. So all of her charts are of actual homes. So she's gone around and taken photos of these Victorians, famous houses, or they might be houses that were made by the wealthy businessman in the area or the landowner. And it's a house that's known in that area as a piece of architecture that people flock to, some more famous than others. Obviously, Winchester Mystery Mansion is an extremely famous house. I mean, it's a tourist destination. Everyone knows that. This one, I've been to LA, but I haven't been to Napa Valley. This is in Napa Valley, Beringer Winery. I don't know in the scale of wineries if this is a big winery that's extremely famous. I did Google it. It's been around for 100 years. So I'm imagining Beringer Winery has, for people who know Napa Valley, that might be a famous place to go. I actually live down the road from a winery, so I've got my own winery, which I think is a little bit of symbolic, even though my winery is only about 20 years old. Now, the first Debbie Patrick charts here, I can't show you. She did a window series, and they're that. And it's just I'll stitch them one day, and I'll show you. Okay, so I will hold these up and show you. Now, most of these, I'd like again to acknowledge my wonderful friend Jo, who is just the font of goodness. She didn't bequeath me, she's still alive and well and happy, passed on her Debbie Patrick collection to me, which I'm forever grateful for. And also when I showed my peacock, she then gave me a heap of peacock charts. So Jo, you're amazing. And start stitching again already. Anyway, here are my Debbie Patrick charts. Now, I'll just try my best to do this without glare. I won't read out the names, and I'll just go through them quickly. Jay has sent me one. I don't think it was that one. Or was it? Might have been that one. But most of these have come from Jo. Now this is the one I was just talking to Ada Stitches on Instagram, and she said she's got the castle in France. And I'm pretty sure, darling, if you're watching this, Ada, it's this one. And if you want to start it, I will definitely start that with you. That's a different look again. So it says Victorians across America, but obviously that's not in America. So, oh, thunder. Wouldn't be surprised if it's pours rain. And there was a lovely lady who sent me one of these too. I want to say from Pennsylvania. There's an interesting one, the Golden Gate Park Conservatory. Hearst Castle. And I just got one of these, another one of these from McKenna in that delivery too. But I'm not sure which one. So look at all these beautiful houses. Alamo Square in San Francisco. Gingerbread Mansion. I always want to start this one. I want to start all of them, like to just be honest. Davina from Mama Ulu, who, when she used to film, she has done all 4 of these, honey, haven't you? I think you've done all 4 from that collection, and she might have even done that one. Or was it that collection? One of these collections, there's 4, she's done them. I think this was the one I just picked up from McKenna. Oh, and I've got a couple of Nancy Spruce houses, which I haven't done yet. There you go. So, that's my Debbie Patrick collection of houses, which, as I said, at some point... Oh, there's one, that's the one I think I just got from McKenna. Now, I want to say a couple of years ago, Debbie Patrick retired and had her charts all on sale on her site, like 3 for whatever or 2 for whatever. I can't remember. I didn't buy any because, yes, I don't have the whole collection, and yes, I could have gone and gotten every Debbie Patrick I don't own, but I think I'm already in the bracket of ridiculous. So, what's the next bracket after ridiculous in the stash department? I don't know. I'm in that probably. I don't need any more. I've got other house charts. I've got houses on samplers. I've got, anyway. So reel it back in a little bit, Ali. Reel it in. So that's my Debbie Patrick collection. And when I finish that Beringer Winery chart, I will be sending it off to Jay because I'd love to see her stitch it and enjoy it. So this month's wipgo definitely won't have a finish on both of them because it is just, it's not going to happen. They're too big. There's too much left to do. The first one I've decided to tackle is my Courtney Collection Peacock, which was gifted to me by Olivia and Elena. This is a 16-page chart. It's a kahuna. It's a big kahuna. See me trying to find a nice word to use there. Keep it G-rated, Ali. Okay, so when I started this yesterday, I started it here. I stitched all that in one day whilst also stitching on that house. It was so hot yesterday, and obviously I can't leave the property because I've got COVID. So I stitched for like 15 hours in the air conditioning. I mean, I did a load of washing, and I washed up and hung clothes up, took clothes off, made beds, all that stuff. I still did stuff, right? But I stitched for the better part of 15 hours. And so this has still got more to go through here, and that'll be a page finish in like a couple of days. I did loosely think to myself I'd like to do 3 pages, which would be this one here and another one here and here. So some of these pages, obviously there's a lot of negative space in this when this was a 1-page finish. That would have been about here. So not as big as, say, this one. But because of the nature of this, it's just black stitching on Ada. This is going to look amazing. I am thinking of actually giving this to my sister. Sissy, if you're watching this, pretend you didn't hear that. She lives in an art decor apartment in Melbourne, in St Kilda, and it would really suit her house. I'm thinking of gifting it to her. Anyway, so I'll frame it first though, or pay for her to frame it. Anyway, so it's going to look incredible. But it would also look good on my wall of peacocks. I need to have a think about life and what I want to do with it. But it's going to be beautiful. And this now, because I have just started watching in the last 3 or 4 days a show called Sinners with Bill Pullman. His character's frustrating me a little bit, but I can't stop watching this show. I think it's just entered season 4 now, and he is this police officer who has a case, and the case is the whole season, and then the next season's a different case, and something different's happening. So if any of you have watched Sinners, did season 3 drive you insane? I thought I was going to go insane with the character Jamie. Anyway, let me know if you've watched it, what you think of it. But now, because I watched a whole season in one day yesterday, pretty well. That's what I'm thinking of when I see this black. And I'll watch the other season this afternoon probably. Anyway, so that's my first go on this month's wipgo. And my second wipgo project is Mirabilia Santa, Fat Santa's head, this one. He's a beauty. He is so saturated in colour. This I am doing on Vintage Country Mocha. I don't know, 32 count linen, maybe. So that's where this piece starts off. It is it's not quite halfway done. I definitely won't finish that peacock, and so this is what I knew what would happen, right? So do I, in a frenzy to just have the most finishing ever in 1 year, sacrifice the peacock and just work on this mirror Santa? Because I think if I just focused on this for a month, I would bang it out, right? But why do I feel the need to bang it out when I could just enjoy both projects? So I'll just see. I will get to this, but I want to give like maybe I'm trying to be like, these whips aren't my children, but were you girls like this when you were a mother? Like when your kids were little? I even had the saying, even Steven, my kids got, one kid got something, the other kid got it, and I'll go, even Steven, and they just know now, like everything's even. So for some reason, 2 whips a month, I feel the need to have 2 weeks on one whip and 2 weeks on the next whip, like not to split them in any way. So I suppose if I worked on this, I could finish it. I might get close to finishing it in the 2 weeks and then decide to stay on it into March. And this was another thing I thought might happen. So we'll see what happens with that, whether I get close on this and I just keep going with it. Because this, I mean, I haven't shown a lot of mirrors, but I love mirrors. I love full coverage pieces. I love houses. I do like a lot of different stuff. And stitch a good variety of stuff. But mirrors, this isn't like a mirror though. This is like a full coverage design. I mean, she always does her shadings, her famous shadings. But that's where the beads go. This is, for all intents and purposes, a massive full coverage piece of hers. There's no room in it. There's no break in it. It's not like one of the ladies with a lot of negative space. Look at that. That's wall-to-wall stitches. Isn't it a lush image? I love him. I'm going to struggle with that age-old feeling of, do I frame him and have him away for 11 months of the year and spend all that money to frame him, and he only comes out once a year? Look how happy, look at his little face. He's got his eyes shut, getting a present or giving a present. And that holly up the top, how much fun is that going to be? Yeah, I'm definitely going to enjoy that. But I'm going to enjoy the mindlessness of that peacock too. Like, it's going to be fun. It is fun. I can't believe, who stitches that much in one day? I mean, obviously I've got extenuating circumstances, but it was from here down, as well as that house. Get a life, Ali. Okay, so I have been buying things because that's what I do. So I don't want to put anyone and say don't buy things, guys, but my cross-stitch journey, I used to be a kit girl like everyone did. If you have been stitching for decades, you just brought kits. That's all that was available. It wasn't PDFs, obviously. You got kits and you worked with what you had. Sometimes you replaced the fabric. Anyway, we've all moved on from there. So when I started buying charts individually and started buying charts individually my chart collection is off the hook. Not all the latest and greatest stuff. There are certain pieces that come to me and I see on Insta or FlossTube or wherever, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to have that. But it's only the odd piece. I get the odd new piece. Generally speaking, I like stuff that's a bit older. I like stuff that has a nostalgic feel to it. I've got so many things to stitch. My full coverage collection, I think I've got about 10 kitted full coverage. I've probably got about 10 whips on the go. Probably about 50 full coverage charts that I've got nothing for, just the charts. So I can't stitch everything I own as it is. So I'm really trying to be sensible. This July I turn 52, so I'm 51 at the moment. I turn 52 in the middle of this year, and I would like to be mindful that my cross-stitch collection I won't finish if I don't sleep for the rest of my life, but I've also got my paper crafts, which I adore. I've got my quilting. I've got beads and mosaicing and different little things I dabble in. Sewing, I'd like to get back to sewing some clothes and learning that. That's a big learning process for me that I dabble in here and there and then put aside and get reinvigorated and pick stuff up again. So it's been a while since I've done that. So yeah, I'm mindful time's only so long. It's not a piece of elastic. So trying to be really good and not buy charts. But I tell you what, if I see some fabric and some threads, because I've got the whole digital collection of Gift of Stitching. So that was an Australian online digital magazine, and Kirsten stopped making them and put them all on. You could buy a pack. You could buy them individually or the whole thing. And a couple of years ago, I want to say, I brought the whole back collection. So I have there. So I've got hundreds of her charts, and they're all really pretty cool. Like, they haven't dated. There's a lot of samplers in there. There's a lot of elegant scroll work and different pieces. There's a lot of famous designers in there. There's Long Dogs in there, and there's Rosewood Manners and Northern Expressions, and she got a whole host of people to design on this digital magazine. So I have printed out the ones I'm interested in, but then I've got it on a memory stick. When I go back and have a look, I see more things I'm interested in. So that in itself is a lot of patterns, but a lot of those patterns lend themselves to just picking up like a funky thread that you've got that's variegated and stitching away a piece. So they remind me of this, that thing there, that's an A. That is a Liz Almond's in there too, I think, for, or maybe she's not. That's a Liz Almond piece from her website. Is it called Blackwork Journey? Her website? Liz Almond. She's a designer. Don't quote me on the name of her website. Look it up. And I paid for that. But that reminds me of Gift of Stitching. I've got that. I had that chart in with my Gift of Stitching printouts. And that's the kind of thing. I've just grabbed one piece of thread there and I've done the A and framed it. So mindful of that, I'm just collecting threads and fabric that I can go through, and my big printouts that I've done of Gift of Stitching stuff, I could just pull some fabric out, pull some thread, and off I go. I've got the charts here. So that's what I'm thinking of when I'm ordering my fabric and thread. I probably have a whole DMC by now. I've got like, I think 6 containers of thread. But some of the colours, because I've brought DMC when I needed, some of the colours I've got 20 skeins of it. So I've had to pull it out because there's not enough room in the holders to have like, 24 3-3s, which is a really common brown that's in this, like Mission Brown. 10 6-10s, that's a grey that's in every chart I feel I pick up. So yeah, so I've got lots of thread, but yeah, definitely over the years, my chart, the amount of charts, I'm like a chart junkie. I think we all are to a degree, or some people tend to be in like fabric clubs or thread clubs. I've never done that actually. I think because I don't like that lack of control. I don't like to be sent stuff and I don't know if I'm going to like it. And I don't like really funky, bright fabric. I've got a very country style home, and those really funky, outlandish, bright things don't suit my home. I could have them out here in sort of a display in my craft room, but in my house they wouldn't. I wouldn't want a bright purple fabric or a hot orange or something like. So I suppose I've just never wanted to be disappointed in what I receive from these mystery clubs, as much as I like the idea of supporting people that are hand dyeing stuff. I don't like the idea of supporting them in that manner because it takes out, I lose my control of getting what I like. Anyway, plus, We're in Australia. Postage to here is shocking at the moment. So I like supporting my Australian suppliers because they're amazing. So Jay at Jay's Cross Stitch hand dyes with natural dye her own things. I won't take them out of the paper. That's wheat tea, the plastic I should say. That's I think mustard and a lemon butter. So she does beautiful neutrals. And also there's a strawberry and cream and mulberry one that I'm going to get to next because I think that they're very, like they're still elegant. I can still see things going on them that I would be happy with. They're not outlandish. And then my friend Teresa started Daisy Chain Stitchery. So she's down in New South Wales. And I wanted to support her because she's a lovely girl, and I like the idea of having just someone that I can just bang, place an order, and they come in. So I grabbed some of her classic colour works. No plans. I just got 2 of each one. Did I just get one of that? I might have just got one ladybug. They're pretty, aren't they? I didn't buy them to go together. They were just, were ones that I liked the name of and just grabbed. So they're in my collection of overdye threads, which really for lacking, that's where I lack in the material and the fabric and the overdyed threads. So I'm just, when I buy fabric, I buy 2 or 3 overdyed threads and I'm just slowly building stuff. So it's interesting to look through all that, and I look forward to kitting up some of my charts that I've got, but I'm committed to wipgo and I'm not going to go playing in my stash too much because doesn't that cause drama sometimes, people? When you start playing in your stash and you get overstimulated, then you want to start all the things. Then you're in trouble. So from Teresa also got, she had Exude Designs material, so I got light driftwood. That's like a taupey. So this is quite outlandish for me, but I think I'm going to put a mirror mermaid on it if she fits. Sea Storm, Exude Designs. And Weeks Dye Works Tin Roof. So having fun with it all. I, having spent 2 weeks in this craft room practically, you'd think I would have gone and ventured out of the cross-stitch channel, right? And done a heap of other things. But I'm so in cross-stitch mode at the moment. I'm so engaged with wipgo. I'm not competing with anyone but myself. I'm so competitive with myself. If I say to myself, oh, I think I could finish that. Well, I tell you what, it's like a rabbit leaving the gate in a race. You said you could finish it? What? Did I hear right? And I don't need to compete with anyone. I'm so competitive with myself. It's ridiculous. So I'm just in this cross-stitch channel. So it's funny. I have been junk journaling. I'm coming towards the end of finishing this. There's personal stuff in here, so I don't want to show you that. But I'll show you a little page I did. There's some koala. A koala bear with its baby. This was when we first moved onto this property. We used to go out looking at night. We saw a koala bear. So mid-1990s. So this is just a page I did. Double page spread. I mean, that's a very highly overexposed photo, and I've always kept it because I thought it's not the best photo. But see how I can make it fun. And I did talk to you about my thought process in doing this junk journaling. And it is all about gratitude, thoughtfulness, nostalgia, memory making. And I've been listening to things about this, talking about how important it is to build your sense of happiness. And this does that for me. I have got 2 massive tubs of photos over there, and I'm going back through memories and photos. I'll hide the personal information. Look at this. 1986. 16-year-old Ali going off to work. What else can I show you that's not personal? This, this is personal, but it won't hurt to show you. Look at me in the middle there. Sydney, look at me with my dolly, my big brother and my little sister. So this is the style of junk journaling I like. It's all eclectic, it's all mixed up, it's stickers, it's, bits and bobs of things. I'm just loving it. I'm loving, and I do a lot of writing in mine. So, and a lot of people say, oh, I don't like my writing. I could never do that. Here's one with a dog. The first boxer dog we owned together. We've got a pianola, and I've got a lot of rolls that are all ripped and won't work. So I've been using them as vintage background. So definitely, I'm still going to spruik about junk journaling because to me it builds a healthy dose of nostalgia and thankfulness and gratitude. And I'm building these to have a whole range of junk journals in my nursing room home. I've talked to you about this when I'm an old lady, and I can look back through my life. And in here I might do a page and I talk about everything. I'll be like, oh, tonight I'm planning this dish. Last time I cooked it, I wasn't very happy with this, but this time I'm going to try that. Like, it would just be a thought I'm having about tonight's dinner, or my daughter just rang me and she said this, or just funny little anecdotes, or photos of the past, or whatever. So this is getting quite fat. I'm still on the third signature, so it's really... I haven't even touched this back one yet. It's fat. I can't wait to build the next one. I've got to think about what kind of clasp or something I'm going to put on here, or maybe I'll just tie it with a ribbon. So that junk journaling, I've gotten into the habit with this sits on a separate little table over there, and I've got all my junk journaling stuff together. I sit down, I come into the room. Generally, I've got like a can of drink, or I've got a coffee or a cold water or something, and I'll sit down with my drink and I'll do 5 or 10 minutes of junk journaling, because that's free form creativity, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not sitting down to cross stitch and this symbol goes there and that, and you can make mistakes. That's just, when I junk journal, I do it quite quickly, and it just gets that creative process flowing. And I'll put that colour there. Oh, I don't like that. Do I want a bit of texture? Do I want this? Just gets the creative process going. And I'm loving it. So I'm sort of doing a page or two a day, just every time I come in here. The other day I did 4 or 5 pages. Every time I walked into the room, I did a page. And that was a very joyful experience. So the other thing that I thought, I have been making bags. Where did I put that bag I made? Excuse me while I find oh, it's behind me. I did have them ready. So I showed you this last month from a little peacock finish I had years ago. And this month I made this one. I just have got a heap of iron-on cross-stitch transfers from a magazine called Cross Stitch Magic. It was an Australian thing through the news agencies. I got rid of them years ago because I didn't actually like any of the cross stitches, but I kept all the iron-on transfers. So I just ironed that onto the quilting cotton, and I got out my Threadworks thing and started there, and then that thread helped me choose the colours of the patchwork piece that I did here. And I like my bags really, that's not heavily quilted. That's more heavily quilted on the back there. That's micro stippling. I could even go tighter than that. Yeah, I could easily get that tighter than that. It chews the thread though. So that's stippling. It's free motion quilting. It's pretty easy if you've got a good machine. And that's right. I did some little free form little crosses and somewhere else. Where were they? Up Oh no, I did. Oh yeah, I just did some. You can't really see that. Just some straight stitch. Anyway, so that was cute. That was fun. Just stitching over the little, so it's like a stencil on your work. All that to say, when I made this, I thought, I've got some zipper pulls I brought some from Kerry, but I'd like to make my own. Like I have got 2 tubs worth of beads. I showed this on Instagram. These beads are from me collecting them. My mother was into beading, used to get beading magazines and make her own. She loved the memory wire bracelets. But when my mother gets into something, I think this is genetic, right? When she gets into something, she spends up, like gets all the things, right? And then she might, I'm not into that now. So 2 years later, I score the mega truckload of whatever. So there are lots of things in my craft room that my mother's given me, thankfully, bless you, Mama. But beads are one of them. So the beads, I got re-engaged with, like I've never really fiddled with beads on things. Obviously I've beaded mirrors, got it beaded somewhere. I just can't find it. If I come across it, it was a lot of swirls, and I did a lot of swirls with, and it was just circles with Mill Hill beads. And the piece came out to about here. It was quite artistic. It was a lot of circles. I cannot find that anywhere, because that would be really good. It's not quite finished, but framed or on the front of a bag maybe. I don't know where that ended up. I hope I haven't thrown it out, because that was a heap of beads. So when I started doing these journals, I saw on YouTube about this trend of these dangling beads. Don't you love it? Don't you love that sound? Anyway, so that got me thinking about, Ali, you know, you've got thousands of beads. Thousands. Oh, another thing that happened with beading was my sister is a traveller, and she went through India. Mid-90s, I want to say, mid-1990s, and she brought back a ton of beads, and she was going to start a little business, blah, blah, blah. She just ended up giving them away to people, right? So I've got all her bead collection things from India. I've got so much of that stuff, and some of them are really big and chunky, like, I don't even know. They'd almost have to be like a centerpiece to a necklace. They're quite chunky. Anyway, so I've got all these random beads, and I've brought beads, and I've got Mill Hill beads from my cross-stitch things. Anyway, so and in that was all in Grandma's beading things, or a lot of little lobster claws and stuff. So I could get going on making some funny little zipper pulls. I honestly don't know where I got these beads from. As I said, they've come from different sources. I've just put stuff together. I was so excited to discover how to do this loop. I've got wire too, because I was wire in paper crafting at one point. Do you remember that, girls? Wrapping wire around things and making shapes. So I've got this 22, 24, 26 gauge wire that's come in handy for this. I kid you not, my stash has got a variety of stuff. Isn't that cute? That's got a bit of a 70s vibe. Anyway, so just having fun matching stuff. Again, creative, free flow stuff. So another of the ones I made is this one, which I thought it's got a bit of green in there. Would look nice on that bag. And this one, which looks quite cute with this bag. So anyway, that's some ramblings from Ali's cross-stitch studio, Ali's stitching studio, I should say. She's been on a crafting bonanza. Really, I can't believe I haven't quilted. I haven't even thought about picking it up. I haven't even felt like picking it up. I've been reading a lot of books and magazines in here of my stash, because that's clearly ridiculous as well. I've got 2 bookcases over there filled with inspiring information. So anyway, that's it from me. I can hear the thunder coming in. It's been such a hot day. So we'll have a late afternoon storm, which means I've got to lock my dogs up because they'll freak out in the thunderstorm and try and run away. So I best go and tend to that now. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you have an enjoyable weekend. We're only Wednesday now, but enjoyable weekend coming up with your stitching, and that this video finds you well when you get around to watching it, and happy stitching to you all. Bye.